Did you say smoky and spicy BLT?
Bigfoot cooking.
That's right. Today we are throwing it down. We are making, like hand making, a jalapeno and cheese bread loaf. We are gonna candy up some bacon with some hot honey. And well, of course you got the lettuce and tomato. Ain't much you can do with that. That's pretty good as it is. But we're gonna throw all this together. Now, you don't have to like home make your bread, but why wouldn't you? You could just like toast up something and cut out probably half this video if you're in a hurry to eat. But man, taking your time and throwing it together, it is so worth it in the end. So let's get started on the ingredient list for this guy, because there is a couple of things. Like I say, most of it's in the bread, but the jalapeno bread is so good. Yeah, I know I said it already, but it is so good. Now, to start this party, all we need is everything you see. 2 cups of flour, cup of water, tablespoon of butter, 1.5 tablespoon of yeast, tablespoon of salt and sugar, about 3 jalapenos, a tablespoon of milk powder. Now, the milk powder is optional. If you didn't want to do the milk powder, you could actually just use milk instead of water, and 1/2 cup of cheese. Now, that's everything that goes into the bread. Now, the bacon, well, that's pretty simple. You need bacon, brown sugar, and hot honey. You could even take some jalapenos if you wanted and cut them up and lay them on top of it. You'll see when this comes along. And then, of course, we're gonna put a little bit of mayonnaise with a kick in it too. So we're gonna mix up basically a little bit of mayonnaise and a little bit of hot sauce together. Ooh, I'm telling you, this is gonna be layers of heat, and it is gonna be so satisfying. But of course, before we can start making the bread, well, we gotta wake up the yeast. And let's get started with that. All right, to kick this off, you're gonna get your water. Not cold water, not hot water. A little bit above room temperature. Realistically, 85, 90 degrees is about the place to kick it. We'll go ahead and set this in here. Ooh. Now that's complicated right there, right? I know you got the first part of this. And into it, you know, yeasts are hungry, right? They like to eat a little something. So we're gonna add our little bit of sugar in here. And then of course, the yeast. Now, you know why they call this proofing the yeast? Well, because you want proof that it works. Now, if you didn't proof it and you made this whole recipe and all of a sudden your yeast, well, it took a vacation, it decided not to tell you about, now you got a really hard, dense lump of bread. We don't want that. We want to rise up. So we're gonna mix this together. And now we're gonna set this off to the side. And what we're doing, we're waiting on that to get like a, for lack of a better word, it looks like a head of beer. You get that little frothy thing on top. That lets you know the yeast is alive. I mean, yes, there's some bubbles in there now, but they're gonna be a lot of bubbles later on. Now, while we're waiting on that to wake up, we can go ahead and start prepping up our jalapenos. Now, depending on how hot you want your jalapeno, you can cut it and leave the seeds inside of it, or you can go ahead and take those out. That will determine whether it's hot or really hot. And since, well, more than me is eating this, I'm gonna go ahead and de-seed them. So let's get to some chopping, shall we? Now you may have noticed I cut these all different sizes. Well, it's because I want every little bit of bread to have a little bit of a different flavor to it. So sometimes you may get a little bigger piece, sometimes you may get a little smaller piece. That's the variety and the spice of life. And speaking of spice, make sure after you cut these, wash your hands. Apparently I've got a little bitty cut somewhere that I didn't know until I started doing this. So let me wash up and then we'll see how our proofings are doing. All right, so not gonna lie, I kind of got watching some squirrels on YouTube where they set up this whole maze thing. Yeah, this might be 15 minutes, but holy crap, look at this yeast. Matter of fact, let me adjust this camera here. I mean, look at that. I've created life. Okay, I made some yeast bubble, but this is awesome. This is a very active, very good yeast. That's what you need for the bread. So now, well, let's go ahead and get the bread making going. We'll start out, we'll add our flour first. We'll add our optional milk powder, a little bit of salt, and our knob, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, I've heard the term knob, Not exactly sure how much a knob is, but in this case, well, it's a tablespoon of butter. And now, before this guy boils over, let's slide this in here. Whee! Holy cow, that's some good yeast there. Now I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna mix this a little bit before we put our jalapenos in there. I want it to kind of do a little bit of the dough up thing, so we'll just put it on low and let it go until we kind of lump together a little. It's getting a little bit of mix, but there's a lot of powder on the bottom that's not getting in there. So we're gonna take and scrape down the sides, and this way everything gets mixed in. Otherwise, well, you're just gonna be sitting here on low for what feels like a week. All right, and this time I'm gonna add about 2/3 of the jalapenos in here. I wanna save some so that way once it rises, we put a little bit on the top. And then I'm also, I don't make a mess here, also gonna put in a good old heaping little bit of this cheese right here that we shredded up. Now, in this case, I'm using sharp because I wanted it to hold together while it was cooking. Mild it's a really good flavor, but it melts easier. This takes a little more temperature to melt, and well, that's what I want, all right? You do how you do. This is how I do. All right, now I'm gonna let this go until it gets really nice and mixed, and I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna let it sit here for about an hour and kind of rise and get all yeasty, because again, we want that yeasty flavor, and then I'll pull it out. So not much to watch other than this doing its slow rise, and I don't have enough battery to film the whole thing like I did with the bloom. So I'll check back with you guys in about an hour and we'll see how this looks. So till then, I don't know, watch me edit an hour just like this. All right, our hour has snuck past us. We have done the risey rizzy thing. Whew, look at there. We won't need the dough hook for the rest of this. We'll go ahead and take and put a little flour down. Now I'm trying to get this camera thing. It's a new rig for me, but I'm trying to get you guys to kind of see what I see. So I haven't quite got this figured out yet, but give me 3 or 4 more videos. We'll have this guy finagled out. All right, let's see. Let's turn this out right on this here floured surface. All right, little anti-stick on the hands so that way hopefully we don't get all crunchy. And let's see how we do with this stuff. All right, now let's go ahead. I got myself I pre-buttered 2 of them just in case. I wasn't sure how big this was gonna be. So don't worry, it won't go to waste. I'll make some more bread later. But I'm gonna go ahead and take this guy. I've got it kind of rolled up nice. And again, this is a very sticky dough. I'm gonna take the seam, set it down on the bottom part here, kind of tuck this guy nice to bed. We're gonna give it another hour to go ahead and rise in the pan. And while that's working, let's get on some bacon. All right, so while our bread is getting all fluffy up and getting pretty, let's go ahead and work on candying the bacon, because while it's not difficult, like I say, I've got an hour to kill and I might as well do something. We're gonna go ahead, I've got all my bacon laid out right here. You could do this in a cooking tray and just put it on parchment paper, but I'm putting this in the smoker. That's right, we're smoking the bread and we're smoking the bacon. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna put this in the smoker. That's why I've already got it on a tray right here. We're gonna go ahead and take our brown sugar and we are just gonna cover all this stuff with a little sweetness. Tell you what, whoever figured out this trick, kudos to you. You know what you were doing with bacon. Let's sweeten it up some.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, now we just press this in a little bit. Now, depending on how candied you want your candied bacon, you could take this, let it sit for about 10 minutes, flip it over and do the backside as well. But I mean, I'm not trying to get the diabetes. I'm just trying to add a little sweetness in my life. And speaking of the sweetness, it's now for the hot honey. I'm gonna take and just kind of every piece of bacon, I'm just gonna run a line right down each one of them. That way I got the sweet flavor and the heat flavor. And again, since I'm making this for more than just me, I can't put as much heat as I really want on it, because otherwise, again, I'd flip and do the other side. But this is good. So like I say, we're waiting an hour for that to set, or not set, I guess to rise up. But while we're waiting on that, we're waiting on this. I'm just gonna let it mellow out here. And then I'm gonna get the smoker. We're gonna fire it up for 350. That's right, we are, like I say, all this goes in the smoker, 350 degrees, about 20, 25 minutes. Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take and use one of my probes, like, you know, you're smoking a brisket or something. I'm gonna put it in the bread. So that way, when the bread gets up to 190, I know it's done. It's time to pull it out. This, well, we're gonna let the bacon sit there for a full 30 minutes just so it gets all that smoky flavor. So I'll see you guys out in the grill. All right, got my loaf ready for the smoker. I've actually got a temp sensor in here and I'm gonna watch how it goes. Like I say, the theory is to cook this for about 30 minutes. The reality, it may be a little longer, it may be a little less. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but it is rainy here in Georgia. That's right, the sky is falling. Chicken Little even concurs. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna take and load this guy up. Now to cook this, I'm gonna take the bread, I'm gonna set it up here. I'm gonna take the bacon, and it's gonna go down here. There's logic to this, because bacon drippings will fall, but they're not gonna land in the bread. So let's go ahead, I'm gonna set a timer, and that way I don't go over 30 minutes, but we're gonna watch the temp probe, and let's see how our smoked bread and bacon comes out. Ooh, I can't wait. All right, so to update you on some cook times, bacon took about 20 minutes. It probably could have went 25 for a little more crispness, but 20, it looked good. I didn't want to burn the bacon, all right? This, however, it actually took 35 minutes to get to that internal temp of 190. So I've got this guy here. I'm gonna let it cool, and while we're waiting, while we're waiting on that guy to cool off, we're gonna go ahead and slice up our maters, get all that ready, and we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna make our spicy mayo. And mayo, the good thing about mayo, it actually, you can mix a lot of stuff with it to change the flavor. I mean, it's kind of a good base. And for this, we're just gonna take and squirt a little bit of mayo in here, about that much. You tell me, what, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons? Do you really ever measure your mayonnaise? All right, and from here, we're gonna add us a little Cholula. That's right, some good old hot sauce. What, maybe a tablespoon, maybe 2 tablespoons? I don't know. Just enough to get the little bit of heat in the mayo. Give it a quick mix. Just right. A little bit of heat without burning your taste buds off. And now, mater time. It's a nice thing about the big maters. You only need 1 for a sandwich. All right, let's see how our bread has performed. Little flip, little drum roll, boom, come right out the bottom. That's how I like it. Nice, still a little warm. It would probably cut better if I let it cool all the way down, but I have a cheat. My handy dandy bread slicer. We'll just drop this guy in here. I like this because it actually will cut the bread 3 different sizes. You can get Texas toast, regular, and skinny if you're either on a diet or about broke. So you trim off the end piece, and let's go ahead and get us up our sandwich bread. Look at there, got jalapeños all in it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and slide this in the toaster. That way we can get us up a little bit of crunchy crunch. And give me just a second. Gotta have toasted BLT bread. All right, got a light toast on it. Don't wanna go too heavy. Like I say, I'm a little bit of experimentation here. Let's go ahead and coat it with some mayo to make it spicy mayo-licious. Now, of course, there is an order of operation. I mean, it is a BLT. And for that, we start out with our candied bacon. Let's see, I'll put me a piece right here and another piece right here, because 2 bits of bacon are better than 1, right? Now for the lettuce part. Let's see, get me a nice big leaf here. I ain't even gonna cut it, I'm just gonna leave it nice and bird. And of course, mater. 1 big mater on the top. And now, the top. Ooh, simplicity, right? I mean, no need to make this into something bigger than what it needs to be. Just a simple little bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich with spicy candied bacon, jalapeno bread, and a little bit of kick on the mayo. But none of that matters, right? What matters is how it tastes. Let's see what the Tum Tum thinks about the Num Num. You know, you would think all the heat that we put into it, it'd knock you back. No, this is really good. It's actually a pretty mild heat. Doesn't smack you in the face, doesn't nothing. I definitely could go hotter on the next one. But I know for this one, I know it's disappearing. And I know that this has been a good show. I have been craving this sandwich for 2 weeks, and I know that Bigfoot is real, and Bigfoot ain't getting none of this here smoky and spicy BLT. Y'all take care.
You know, I can't believe Chef didn't save me a bite. I'm out of here. Come on, dogs.
Do you really ever measure mayonnaise? Do you really ever measure your mayonnaise? I didn't get a bowl out for that.